The Browns were the worst with 222 losses, and the Patriots were the best with 94 losses. I mean, the Lions were right after us with 216 losses. One thing I noticed amongst the best teams is that they've had major success in the last 20 seasons. Examples: Patriots, Steelers, Eagles, Ravens. They were all down there with the least amount of losses, but had major success. My point is that this organization is one of the few that has a worldwide fan base, but we're going to end up losing generations of fans because this franchise has yet to win anything meaningful in the last 20 years. I truly hope that Watson can turn this thing around because, as you can see with the Bengals, if you have consistent success, even in a 2-year stretch, your franchise can be looked upon as elite and highly touted. How do you feel about our beloved team being the worst team in the last 20 years? Thanks.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Ashley Bastock, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. So, Ashley, the first part of that was that over the last 20 years, the Browns have had the most losses. Consistent winning in the NFL is all about quarterback play. He mentioned the Patriots. That's Tom Brady. He mentioned the Steelers. That's Big Ben. He mentioned the Eagles. They had Flacco and now Jalen Hurts. He mentioned, he mentioned the Ravens. That was Lamar Jackson and Flacco, rather, in his heyday. Joe Burrow is the Bengals. So that's the reason the Browns paid the price they did to go out and get Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, everybody remembers the quarterback jersey, right? With the masking tape and the 20-some guys listed who made starts at quarterback for the Browns over, the 20 years where losing was all that the city ever had known, basically, since the team came back in 99. So I just think, when it comes to the fan base, though, too, it's like fans have been loyal, right? It's maybe that nationally, the Browns haven't had the same kind of presence, or they haven't been looked at the same way by analysts as some of those other teams. But yeah, I mean, it comes back to so much in the NFL is predicated on, do you have a quarterback who can go out and win you games? And I think the reality is, while we don't necessarily know that Deshaun Watson can be the same guy he was in 2020, that's the hope, right? And the Browns certainly believed that, considering they were willing to give up all the draft picks they did, and just knowing what Deshaun Watson's reputation was going to be and how that was going to change the team in the eyes on a national scale, and kind of the PR storm it was going to bring, given the sexual misconduct allegations that he faced when they traded for him. So I think that's why when, we spend so much time talking about Deshaun Watson on the football field, that's why, because this franchise is sort of hanging on that hope that after decades, they finally found their guy.
And, the flip side of it is that it isn't too often that a guy who is Deshaun Watson's age, who has accomplished what he is, teams don't let those guys go free. They usually give them a lot of money to stay where they're at. So, again, you get it. Along the lines of the fan base, found this really interesting. This is from USA Today. NFL fan base rankings. Tier 1, they refer to them as the Deer Hunters. It's the Browns, Steelers, and Packers. And they say, being a Browns fan is what it must feel like getting a grand jury subpoena, except every week. No fan base is more dedicated. No fan base fights through all the L's with such ferocity. So, again, the USA Today nationally ranking the Browns fan base among the best in the league. And when they lay it out like that, you really can't argue with it.
No, yeah, I mean, for me, and maybe it's my Midwest girl bias over here, I think there's nothing like Browns fans and Bills fans. And maybe that's also because I went to John Carroll, where there's a ton of kids who come from Buffalo. So I also know a fair share of Bills fans. Those to me are like 1A and 1B in terms of everything these fan bases have had to deal with. I mean, the Browns in particular, all the losing, like we've talked about in the last 2 decades. It's in some ways, it's amazing that the fan base to that first caller's point, like locally has remained as strong as it has. Like, I think it says a lot about how much the city of Cleveland cares about football. I think that's for better or worse. I think in years past, like sometimes it's been frustrating when the Browns were really bad and like the Guardians were doing really well, and all anybody cares about is what's going on at Browns training camp. It seems like. So I think you just see the passion of this fan base even at the worst times, and how much they're going to care about what's going on with this team. And I think that's why it's important to know, like, they deserve to have a good team go out there on the field on Sundays and deserve to see some success given everything this fan base has put up with. And sometimes I think, like, man, if a Hollywood screenwriter tried to write a true to life movie about the Browns, I'm not talking draft day where everything's fictional. I'm talking true to life. Like, could you imagine, like, even just the whole Johnny Manziel saga, making it like it is stranger than fiction sometimes in Cleveland. I think we all know that.
Without question. And I have covered Browns fans that have been consistent playoff teams when I was much younger. So the city is really, really passionate about the Browns. When they're good, it's even, I can't even explain how tuned into Sunday is and what Monday's like when they win and what Monday is like when they lose. It is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, think about, like, it's kind of crazy to remember. I mean, obviously they make the playoffs in 2020, right? But since then haven't really obviously met the expectations and built off of that playoff appearance. It's like we still don't even really know what it would be like with this team, like as a contender in the internet age, and like because they haven't been really since the internet has been widely available to people. It just, again, it kind of just puts it into perspective of, I think, like, if they do kind of reach these goals that they want to reach, like it's really hard to predict even what the interest is going to be like for me, just because we know how passionate and how interested people are, even when things are going wrong. So when things are going right, and you're talking, a playoff run or something to that effect, even a Super Bowl appearance or a Super Bowl win, like, I don't know that I can even fully wrap my mind around what it would look like if the Browns win a Super Bowl.